Good afternoon, everyone. We are going to say something about CML. It is chronic myeloid leukemia, one of the most common blood cancers which we come across in our clinical practice, be it hematologist, be it radiation oncologist, be it the general practitioners, or be it even the surgical oncologist. So very common disease. It has been there since last 2 decades, 2 to 3 decades. We have seen that there has been a lot of advances in the treatment of CML. So in the 1960s, when actually first the Philadelphia chromosome was discovered, that is what brought about a very big change in the diagnosis of CML. Previously, it was just described as a huge spleen, but now we find that it has been a part, even a general practitioner is able to diagnose a CML looking at the blood smear. So we say it as chronic myeloid leukemia, and it is a type of blood cancer where mostly we find that the TLC count, or the total leukocyte count, which we say as the WBCs, it is sky high. Mostly it is more than 1 lakh, maybe up to 5 lakhs, even 7 lakhs. So as you can see that these are blood cancers and mostly related to the blood cells, the abnormality of the blood cells. We can diagnose the disease by looking at the peripheral smear. So it has 3 phases, mostly the chronic phase, the accelerated phase, and the blast phase. A physician is usually very happy to see a patient of CML in the chronic phase, which is stage 1 of the disease. And when actually it progresses to an accelerated phase, it is alarming. And when a patient enters into the blast phase, it has like a prognosis as that of an acute leukemia. So definitely nobody of us would ever like to treat a patient who is in blast crisis, because it is the same as that of a treatment of an acute leukemia, and the prognosis is still worse because the patient has a Philadelphia chromosome mutated in him. So as I already mentioned, there was a landmark discovery of the Philadelphia chromosome, and that is what actually brought about the targeted therapy. And it was the first disease to have a targeted therapy in the form of tyrosine kinase inhibitors. And imatinib, which was the first drug, possibly in 1998, in the late 1990s, it was first discovered. And then throughout this last 4 decades, we have got the advantage of imatinib, a drug just taken as a single drug without much of side effects, very well tolerable. When the generics came to the market, even it was very affordable, and people have been almost leading a normal life by taking this single drug. There is no adverse events of a chemotherapy, which used to be very toxic earlier, before the advent of the TKIs. And then over the last 5 years, India has even made a landmark achievement by making some generic drugs available, like dasatinib, bosutinib, and ponatinib, though they not now available, but in the near future even India will be able to take that great step as well. So second generation TKIs, as I already said, that imatinib brought a benchmark in the treatment of CML. The second generation imatinibs were mainly meant when imatinib was not producing the amount of response it was expected to in the normal patients. So there was known as imatinib intolerance or imatinib resistance. But now with the changing guidelines, and when we are thinking of that the CML patient can have a normal life as that of a general population, we are thinking to achieve a deep molecular response, or a very good response, with the second generation TKIs. So because these generics are now available at an affordable throwaway price like 2,000, 3,000 per month, definitely we are going to give a better treatment to the patients who are newly diagnosed. And mostly in India, as I would say, that this is a disease of the elderly. Mostly patients of 50 years, 60 years have this disease as per the literature. But in India, we find this at a younger age, like 30s, 40s. And these are the patients whom we require to live a normal life for the next 40 years of their life. So if we have a second generation TKI as an upfront, we can have a deep response, as a result of which now the guidelines are marching towards of having a TFR, or a treatment-free remission, so that the patient achieves a molecular response which is not detectable in the normal laboratories. And if the patient has such a response for 2 to 3 years, at least we might think of having a TFR or a treatment-free remission period. That means he may be off the drug and he may have a normal life, but at the cost of monitoring. Monitoring of the disease is very important, so that whenever there is slight increase even in your BCR-ABL transcript levels, we can start off with this PPI, and it is still as good as the patient would have been if he wouldn't have stopped the drug. So I would like to thank the pharmaceutical companies and Emcure especially to come up with the molecule like dasatinib, which is a second generation PPI, well tolerable, orally taken, and with side effects which are very well manageable, and they have got strengths like 50, 70 and 100. The advantage is that if a patient takes 100, he does not have to take 250 mg tablets. And if a patient needs dose reduction from 40 mg to 100 mg, that is still better. And now guidelines has also said that the ELN 2020 guidelines have mentioned, if a patient is not tolerating a dasatinib dose of 70 or 100 mg OD in the chronic phase, we can even start at a 50 mg OD dose. So that is a wonderful thing to have patients with minimal dose, with minimal side effects, at the same time having maximum response. And there is also a part of stem cell transplant, but we would never like any patient to undergo transplant in a disease which can have a prognosis as good as that of a general population. Stem cell transplant is something which we think about when a patient presents in the blast phase, or if a chronic phase lands up in a blast phase. So that is what, with this I would like to end the Emcure Pharmaceuticals for bringing up this lovely molecule to us, and the all benefits, as well as I think they will come up also with the patient support program. Thank you.